Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hollywood Kitchen. I'm just going to check the Facebook here and make sure we are live. Yes, okay, we are live. Excellent. All right, so welcome to Hollywood Kitchen. And today we've got a very, very fun episode where we are going to celebrate pioneering Mexican actress Dolores Del Rio. And with me, I have such an awesome group here. I have got Jenny Hammerton, who is a film archivist in London and co-author of the fabulous new cookbook we're going to talk about called Supper with the Stars. We've got Peter Fuller also joining us from London, who is with the Vincent Price Legacy and works very closely with Victoria Price on all things Vincent. We have Hazel Gassel, who is from El Salvador and loves Dolores Del Rio. And my friend, graphic designer artist, Alia Phibes. So welcome, everybody. I have some casual viewers who watch me do these, and sometimes they tell me, hey, you always assume the world knows who all these people are. So Peter, would you like to give us a very quick, and Jenny, would you like to give us a very quick 101 on who Dolores Del Rio was?
Well, for me, the reason why we actually put Dolores in the cookbook was, of course, there's a famous story that Vincent told. And it was basically, he was out one evening, and some fan came up to him and actually wanted his autograph. And anyway, is that he actually signed it, Dolores Del Rio. And anyway, he was turning around to his companion who was actually up that evening, at dinner. And he said, oh my God, I think that person might be very upset about that. He goes, no. Dolores always said to me, whatever you do, tell them that they have to remember me. So he always signed like his autograph as Dolores Del Rio. So that's why we wanted to honor her in the cookbook. And also I love Mexican cooking, so it's in there.
Jenny, how did you first discover Dolores Del Rio?
Well, Dolores was one of the first people that I got in when I was postcard collecting. That's how I really got interested in movie star recipes, because I was originally a big postcard collector and I just thought it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And like Peter, I love Mexican food. It's quite hard to get Mexican food here in the UK. Until fairly recently, no Mexican restaurants really to speak of, and it is still very hard for us to get Mexican ingredients, although I know Peter's got a secret source of Mexican ingredients. But yeah, I love Dolores, and I thought I'd show you the book that the recipe you're going to cook today comes from.
I love it.
Fashions in Beverly Hills. It's from 1929 and it's fascinating. It's got loads of movie star recipes in it, and that's where the enchiladas recipe comes from. I've already eaten mine, I'm afraid.
What's like in London tonight? So, and Hazel, you mentioned
I made them.
Hazel, you mentioned that you've watched you grew up watching some Dolores Del Rio films. What are some of your favorite films? Because she had a 50-year career beginning in silent era Hollywood, and then throughout the 30s, 40s, and then she returned to Mexico to make films. What stands out to you as one of your favorites?
Yes, well, for me, growing up, I always loved the Mexican cinema, the black and white movies. It was just something that I absolutely love, my sister and I. And so the only familiar things that I am with her are all Spanish movies, like they're Mexican movies. So for me, I will have to say that Flor Silvestre, Wildflower is one of the movies that I absolutely love of her. There is, I don't know, she's so beautiful. And, it was just watching her act, and I don't know, it was just something that always stuck with me, along with other Mexican actors, but she's up there for sure.
How about you, Alia? When did you first sort of discover Dolores Del Rio?
I think, well, when I was trying to learn Spanish, I was watching Mexican movies. Like, you know, I was sort of watching a lot of the classics, and like Maria Candelaria was one of the main ones. And it takes place in Xochimilco in Mexico City, which is actually an awesome place.
You just got back from there, right?
Yeah, actually, I tried to go to her grave in Mexico City, and I went to the Pantheon, but there's like a rotunda where the famous people are, and it was closed, so they wouldn't let me in.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, I think she's like almost like, I think the second most famous actress of like the golden age of Mexican cinema.
Wow. I go to the San Francisco Silent Film Festival. I've gone every year for 20 years now, and it's been canceled basically the last 2 years because of the pandemic, but knock on wood and Formica, they are going to have it this coming May, and I'm going to go again. But I saw Ramona with her from 1928 on a giant screen in the historic Castro Theater. I don't think I blinked the entire time. And she's so radiant that she's all that you can focus on. Like if you asked me who else was in that movie, I'd be like, I have no clue. Dolores Del Rio and Like Other People or something. You know, she's like hypnotic, and she's otherworldly beautiful. And when getting ready for the episode, I love going on YouTube because a lot of like the Merv Griffin or Phil Donahue or some of those 80s kind of talk show hosts in America, they would interview some of the old Hollywood stars. And I came across a Merv Griffin interview with Dolores. And she was a lot older at this point, but she still looked so regal and so elegant. And I was just like, even at like 70, you are enchanting. So
Yeah.
she's really a remarkable woman.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your cookbook too, because Alia and Hazel, if you haven't gotten this cookbook yet, it's very special. It's so cool. Supper with the Stars with your host, Vincent Price. And Jenny and Peter have done something amazing here. They've taken all these incredible Vincent Price recipes and put him with a co-star. And I have the Vincent Price co-star record, so I love the whole co-star thing. And this book is so beautiful. You know, it's got illustrations, it's got color photos, it's got layouts, it's got recipes. It's so beautifully done. I love the illustrations in it. And I also love how you've kind of just done such an incredible job of focusing on the film and the food throughout this book. I really wish I had gotten 2 copies, one to enjoy and one to be covered in butter and dough and crusty stuff everywhere. You know what I did for this episode? I actually scanned the Dolores Del Rio page on a piece of paper and then printed it and put it in my little plastic thing. So when I start the cooking, this goes away so it does not get destroyed.
I actually, Carrie, I must actually have to say to you is that I've had so many, because, you know, we only did 250 copies.
It was a limited run, yeah.
And it's only in colour, but we've had so many people requests, and we were actually gone, you know, we practically sold out of the hardback edition. So I'm actually working on an on-demand edition, which will be a cheaper, smaller, easier one, which I'm actually going to get myself, because you can actually buy it and then write your little notes in it.
Oh, cool.
Because it'll be like, you know, black and white, soft cover. You can actually just like take it out and just use it every day, you know? So
you have read my mind.
So I'm planning on that at the moment. So yeah. So
that's perfect. Because I have like a whole drawer full of crusty pieces of paper I printed up from vintage cookbooks because I cannot bear to destroy them.
But I'm also thinking, it's like, should I actually do like an ebook version? Like, would people use it? So, you know, maybe people could actually write in and sort of say, yes, we'd love to do an ebook, you know, sort of thing. I don't know. So
even bring my iPad into the kitchen because, again, I'm afraid I'm going to drop it on the stove, or maybe I'm just too accident prone, but I understand.
If you're like me, I like actually writing, like, you know, because we're in the UK, I actually like making sure that I'm actually doing the Graham's versions, you know, like, and I write it in the book. So the next time I actually do the recipe, I'll always go, oh yes, I actually did 2 cups, certain amount of grams, So
I made my first fingerprint on my own copy today, making the enchiladas, and I was like, oh no! And then I thought, well, it is a cookbook. We should use it, really. But I'm
Do you
just
ever
looking for
bring the
page.
treasury, Jenny, do you ever bring Vincent Price's treasury cookbook into your kitchen?
I do. I have 2 copies actually. I've got my original copy, which is kind of falling apart. And of course, I've got the 50th anniversary edition. I prefer cooking from the original one, but yeah, it's got post-it notes in it. It's falling apart. So yeah, I do use the books. I mean, they're beautiful things, aren't they? These vintage cookbooks.
I've been afraid to even have it set foot in my teeny tiny ship galley of a kitchen. So yeah, I print out. I know it's ridiculous, but
I do use the reprint, and I actually do all of my comments in the reprint.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So is everybody cooking, or am I the only one cooking? And you guys can just like give me moral support here.
No.
Well, I did the enchiladas. I still had to make the cream corn. I was hoping to have my computer in the kitchen, but going back to the enchiladas, when I was making the cheese and the tomato, everything was like, I got scared to have my computer there. And I feel so lucky to find Oaxaca cheese, which is what the original recipe calls for. I was ecstatic. I went yesterday to the store and they had Oaxaca cheese. If you have, I have never cooked with Oaxaca cheese. It is so stringy. I'm not kidding. Like I was like this, trying to cut it so I could put it in the tortilla. So it's so messy there. So sorry, I was a little late because I was trying to clean up a little. It was just crazy there. But I don't know. I'm very excited that I found the Oaxaca cheese.
I am so jealous. I would love to have some Oaxaca cheese proper.
Have you ever?
Well, you guys need to do a tax write-off trip and come out to Southern California, because this kind of food is like fishing in a trout pond. It's very easy to find.
From Mexico.
Mexico, better yet. Let's all go to Mexico.
Right.
I can get Oaxaca cheese right over there.
I can tell you is that like 2 years ago to the day, Facebook actually reminded me, is that I was actually in Dolores, Hidalgo. I was in Mexico 2 years ago, and I was actually collecting loads of like chilies and stuff, which I've actually used for tonight's recipe. And I miss Mexico so much.
I'd love to. It'd be fun to have like silver screen suppers and Hollywood Kitchen on the road. We just rent a van and drive around the country and eat regional food.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, I'm a big Ava Gardner fan, and I'm also Southern. So Ava's 100th anniversary of her birth is this coming Christmas of 2022. And my family just lives in Georgia down the coast. So I'm trying to rally my whole family into an Ava Gardner road trip. So my mom's the only one on board so far, but they're going to do it whether they like it or not.
Oh God, are they doing an Ava Gardner special down the museum then?
Well, I think they're gonna. Laura Stoker, my friend that's done several Ava episodes with me, she's on the board of the museum, and they are planning stuff. It's just, I guess, I don't know about London, but like here anyway, it's so tricky to plan things. Like, I feel like all of my plans are super loose just because so many of them get upended every time we turn around. So, but fingers crossed, yeah, that they'll be able to have a big Ava Gardner. I think they might do a series of Ava Gardner celebrations.
Oh, we should do that because, of course, Ava is in our book with her fantastic fillets.
You know, maybe we should get Laura and do an Ava Gardner Vincent Price Halloween, Silver Screen Suppers, Supper with the Stars.
Yeah.
Possibilities are endless.
So enchiladas?
Enchiladas, yes, let's make the enchiladas. As I mentioned off screen, I'm not gonna fry my tortillas of past experience. That's not gonna end well for me. So I'm just gonna use the straight up tortillas, but let's see. And I'm gonna use butter instead of lard. I hope that's okay too. And I'm gonna fire up my little hot plates. As I mentioned, when I first started doing these little episodes, I thought about trying to mount my computer over the stove, but I figured that would result in a very expensive trip to the Apple store. So I found this like $30 hot plate at Target, and I have just used the heck out of it. So, okay, so we've got the skillet, we've got the butter. let's see. Okay. Fry onions and then add tomatoes and continue frying. So the ingredients we'll need here, we've got onions, green chilies, tomatoes, cheese, and sour cream. And a friend got me a Vincent Price Funko Pop for my birthday. So Vincent is going to supervise all of the proceedings here.
Great.
All right. So, all right, I'm saving some of these onions for the cream corn, so I'm going to use about half of them. Chatting about Dolores, by the way, while I cook, my hot plate is not immediate. It takes a few minutes to kind of get some momentum going here. I like too that my previous little episode I did was with Wyatt McCrae at the McCrae Ranch. So it seems fitting that since she and Joel McCrae worked together on Bird of Paradise, I'm kind of leapfrogging from one star to the next who both worked together.
What's your favorite Dolores film, Carrie?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I do love that Ramona film. It's just because she was kind of being pegged as like the female answer to Valentino. And of course, I'm a big Valentino fan. And just, I love sound films obviously too, but I have a huge spot in my heart for silence. It's like watching a ballet just with the music and the movement. And Ramona was just it's a really like an important story about, history in Southern California and everything. And it's just, she's so beautiful in that particular film. I don't know, seeing it on a big screen like I did and this gorgeous print, I just really love her in that particular film. I also, okay, it's starting to fry now. I love her in Flying Down to Rio too. Like when that scene where she's kind of making eyes at Gene Raymond and he walks into the band and walks into the trombone. I'm thinking you could make anybody walk into a trombone, lady. Anybody, And that's a really fun movie too. I tend to like the Great Depression pre-code musicals a lot. Those are so much fun. In fact, that's kind of been a go-to genre for me during the pandemic, because you usually have a lot of working class people and then they wind up in some exotic place or situation and then they're putting on a show and they kind of, not all of them, but a lot of them have a formula to them and it always ends well. And I don't know, something about that feels quite comforting these days. All right, I've got the onions. All right, now we're gonna add the tomatoes and continue frying.
That's a great little hot
Can you hear me
plate.
over all the sizzling?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay.
Oh dear.
Okay, I'm gonna add the chilies now.
So what chilies are you using there, Carrie?
Okay.
Can't hear you above sizzling.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yep, you can't hear us.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay. I'm gonna turn this down. By the way, this friend of mine loaned me a Yeti microphone to see if it helped my sound quality. So I hope you're not hearing exclusively loud sizzling on your end. If you want to tell me and I'll do what I can to fix it.
Actually, surprisingly little sizzle, but we can hear you.
Really? Because it's so loud here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so.
And what kind of chilies are they?
I use Ortega green chilies.
Oh, okay.
I really wanted to get to the market in East LA this week, but it just, unfortunately, it did not wind up happening.
Because unfortunately, we can't get those in the UK.
Does actually specify
You know what I need to do, you guys? The next time I'm in Europe, I just need to like bring a suitcase full of contraband for all of you. So I will do that.
I found one which is called La Preferidia. Is that a bit similar?
I don't know. Alia, Hazel, do you guys know?
I don't know. La preferida, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Let me look that up.
It's supposed to be like, this was actually from, well, it's from Chicago. So.
Where did you get those, Peter?
Okay, that's bizarrely is I was in Edinburgh, and there is a shop which actually is a Mexican shop, and there's this guy who actually runs it, and he has a Mexican. He actually did the Mexican wrestling cookbook, and he actually has a Mexican grocery store.
Wait a minute. There is a Mexican wrestling cookbook. Did I hear that correctly?
I'll show it to you.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. That exists? That's a thing?
Peter's very good at finding strange places and strange things.
I went to one once. I went to Lucha Vavoom, Mexican wrestling in downtown LA once. Alia, I think there's a spin-off in the works here.
Okay, I need to get that, I think.
You need to get some Mexican wrestlers on Zoom and start making food.
So I think this was done by a chap who is in Edinburgh in Scotland, and he actually was like friends with like Rolando Cardenas, and I think they just come up with like a Mexican cookbook. I mean, it's not very well subbed, but it's got some great ideas. But anyway, so.
That's just funny because Scotland would be the last place I would think of to find a Mexican wrestling cookbook, but.
So did I. And that's what actually got the green chilies. So.
Yeah, but what I like about this recipe, I like this recipe because it's very simple. You know, it's nothing like crazy. I feel like anybody can do it. You know, I was a little intimidated by it because I never made enchiladas before, but it seems like they worked out well. I want to put them in a pretty plate, but I think this is what they're looking like.
Oh, nice.
I only made 3 because it's only me. So
here's what my skillet looks like for now. And I'm going to put
a lot of chilies.
I'm going to put mine into the enchiladas here. Vincent just face planted into the.
So when it comes to like the cheese, what did you do with the cheese?
Mexican shredded cheese, which you can find in these little bags at the grocery store. That's what I opted to do. But what kind of cheese were you saying was the best kind to do with this again?
Oaxaca cheese.
Oaxaca cheese.
Yeah, that's what the recipe says. And if you couldn't find Oaxaca cheese, you could use, I can't remember what it said, but it gave like substitutes for it. But I was just so happy. That's what I found, the Oaxaca cheese.
Yeah. Okay.
But look, this is Oaxaca cheese. It's very stringy. Look at this.
Yeah, it's almost like a mozzarella almost.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very stringy.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, you know, when I was cooking it, I tried to put it in a tortilla and it was just like strings and strings. I had to cut it. I made a mess.
Did you actually mix the cheese with the actual the tomato sauce thing, cook it in the thing?
And I did it on low, so it melted really, really nicely.
I'm going to try that with mozzarella now. So
I think that's one of the substitutes that is suggested.
I'm going to try that now and see what works, what comes.
I'm going to have to go get some Oaxacan cheese then. Here's how mine turned out.
Oh, they look lovely.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, and I think I would add like maybe shredded chicken, shredded beef, or you guys were telling me off camera before we went on, you could probably make these vegan, Peter, right? You were talking about that.
With vegan cheese, you can do that, maybe.
Okay. Very
So
cool.
for substitutes of Oaxaca cheese, it suggests mozzarella or provolone cheese. So I got this just in case. So I added a little bit of this too, just for fun. And it also says that, you know, sour cream, and I've never seen this again. Like it's crema mexicana, so it's Mexican cream and it's sour cream. So
oh wow,
I was so happy. I scored yesterday.
That's a going to be so authentic.
Yeah, I hope so. I've never had this cream, so it should be interesting. I'm sure it's good.
Oh my God, my enchilada mixture is going very stringy now with mozzarella.
Get ready. You're going to be like fighting with the cheeses soon. Wrestling.
So let me ask you this. What were some of your biggest adventures that you've had, Jenny and Peter, in the course of making all these celebrity recipes? I love asking people that because everybody's got a story about something that was like a huge disaster or a big success.
Oh, I think my big disaster was basically because, I mean, a lot of the recipes are made for big people, big amounts. So, you know, like you have to actually like go through. We've actually used the original recipes because we didn't want to like cut them down. We wanted like them from the stars themselves. So if they were doing a recipe which was like for 10 people, 8 people, we kept the measurements in. So you actually had to actually think, oh, okay, so I'm going to make this. So I made Bob Mitchum's chili wonder, and I tried making that, and I'll tell you what, I made so much of it. It's still in my fridge. You know, it's like, it wasn't so much of a disaster as that the fact it was like, it's just too much to make of it. So you've got to be very wary. You've got like it's actually makes like for 10 people. So you've got to like go, oh, it's only me. So let's like, you know, divide it. So I think that's the only thing that I would actually say.
When I did, I made Vilma Banki's Hungarian goulash, and I had my friend Alan Rody, he wrote a Michael Curtiz book, and I did a Michael Curtiz Hungarians in Hollywood kind of thing. I had so much leftover goulash. And it was when we shot that episode when LA was on hardcore lockdown. So leaving the house was just not that doable. I ate goulash for every meal for like a week. I don't know to this day that I can ever eat goulash again.
Oh, can I just, this is so funny that you've gone down this route, because the recipe that is underneath Dolores Enchiladas recipe is for famous hash. And it says 75 of the celebrities from Hollywood and New York gathered in the Gleason Garden recently for the famed hash. And here is the recipe. So they've given a recipe that serves 75 people. They like to have big parties in Hollywood in the 1920s, obviously.
Well, to me, if it's something like a cookie, like I had a zillion almond crisp cookies from the Lucille Ball recipe. It's like, well, I can give those to friends or donate those to, you know, a shelter or someplace, and that's perfectly great. But there's some things like enchiladas you can't just donate or you can't just give away. You know what I mean? It's just not the same thing.
They go on for a long time, don't they? Hey, Peter, tell the story about your mum and the red currant jelly.
Oh yes, that was fantastic. So there was I think it's the pork loaf. I think it's the Willy Bendix one, isn't it? Where basically she was making the Cumberland sauce, and basically she wanted to make the Cumberland sauce, which is actually in the recipe. But in Australia, is that jelly is actually like something you actually put into like trifle.
Yeah, so Jello.
Jello, yeah, it's what they would say, Jello sort of thing. So when they would sort of said, oh, put what was it called? It was like a blackberry jelly in there.
Red currant jelly.
Red currant jelly. She put red currant jelly in there, but of course, red currant jelly was something that she'd actually put in a trifle, which is very sweet, and it sets. And of course, then when she actually tried to make the sauce, it was all very watery, so it didn't work very well. But once I told her, I was like, oh, you know, like this particular sauce, Cumberland sauce, is not actually a set sauce. It is actually like a liquidy sauce, you know. So she got a bit sort of confused with it, but also is the fact that she used the wrong product. So.
Well, I actually really never cooked, believe it or not, until I started making these little videos, because I either eat pre-made meals from Trader Joe's, or I go out to dinner with friends, or I go to friends' houses or whatever. And then the pandemic hit and my whole lifestyle completely changed. So financially and logistically, going out to eat all the time or going to friends' houses was no longer doable. And I had all these cookbooks I'd been meaning to do something with anyway, because I just collected them for fun. And I was like, well, you know, and then I started doing all this. So a lot of times when I'm making this stuff, this is like the first or second time I've ever made them. And I've had, and I find too that a lot of these vintage cookbooks, it's almost like they're made for people that are experts in the kitchen and already know a lot of basic stuff. And I kind of need stuff spelled out for me, like in Technicolor. I need like this, you know? So I've made a lot of big mistakes just because of what I didn't know. You know what I mean?
I must admit, luckily with our book is that there are lots of very simple classic recipes. You just have to follow to the letter. But I think what it is, it's actually where you come from, whether you actually are in the UK, America, or Australia, it becomes about the measurements. So we have to make it clear, which we've done in the conversion chart. You know, for most people, all the recipes are actually American based. So we've actually had a conversion chart for anybody who's not basically in America. So that's a good one for you lot. So, look how stringy it is. Look.
Oh, Hazel, did you?
Oh my God, that is so stringy.
Can you hear us, Hazel? Oh, you can't. Okay, very cool.
Yes, I can.
I
have
think
you
my
mute
biggest
because
misfire, I had my friend Rick Green on, and he's written this book about Martin and Lewis. So we did like a little cover reveal, and I made a Dean Martin burgundy chicken. It was such a horrible disaster. It was awful. And I posted the recipe, and a friend texted me, you know, Carrie, that's actually not a complete recipe. No wonder it was such a mess.
Oh, no.
So Rick's book is going to get published in a month or two. So we decided we need to have a course correct episode. So this one is, hopefully I'll be able to drive out to his house and show the memorabilia on camera. And hopefully I'll get the burgundy chicken right this time, and it won't be an inedible, shocking looking mess. So.
Well, actually, Jenny, there was a couple of recipes that we didn't end up putting into the book, did we? Because they were so bad. Do you want to talk about
Which ones were they?
Which ones? I can't remember now.
I think there was like I think it was Lynn Barry. I think one of them, it was like some sort of recipe, which was like about ginger or something.
Oh, are you thinking of the ginger ale gelatin thing? That's in there.
No, that's in there. No, it was one that was, no, I think it was it Victor Mature or someone who actually, they had some terrible recipe that didn't work.
By the way, Victor Mature's daughter is, hello, are you there? Victor Mature's daughter, y'all, is so awesome. I love her. So if you ever want to do something with her too, she lives down in San Diego, and she's fantastic. She and I sent her some recipes from her dad, and she said, well, these are, I can confirm these were he actually made them. She's like, but this is what he would eat. And so we made a Kentucky bourbon bread pudding together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she got the recipe from his hometown in Kentucky, and it was incredible. Had I not accidentally spilled corn syrup all over the floor, the whole thing would have been amazing, but it was my bad. But it was great. The bread pudding was so rich, so flavorful. Oh my gosh, it was really good. So if y'all ever want to talk to her, I'm sure she'd be thrilled.
It'd be great, because I like his eggs, sure, they were quite good. It was the crab Lorenzo. Jenny.
Oh, crab Lorenzo, that's right. Ellen Drew, I think that was.
Well, see, here's how naive I was. When I started making these things, I called a friend and I found a William Powell sweetbread recipe, and I'm reading it. Oh, those look great.
Oh, that looks
Enchiladas,
Yeah,
they look good.
I called a friend and I said, I've got this William Powell sweetbread recipe, but it says soak the sweetbread under water. That's going to make the bread fall apart. Why does it say that? And my friend goes, well, you know what sweetbread is? And I go, yeah, it's bread that's sweet. And she's like, no, it's not, Carrie. No, it's not. And I was like, oh. And then she told me it was cow intestines. And I was like, well, that changes everything. I didn't know that.
I think it's like a gland or something, but no, I had a friend who made that mistake at a restaurant ordering sweetbreads thinking it was sweetbread, and she's like, it was not sweetbread.
That is a completely misleading thing to call cow intestines. I'm sorry, that just does not make any sense at all.
It doesn't at all.
Yeah, I was literally going to put bread underwater when I first read the recipe, and I kept thinking about it, like what a big mess it would be and how it would never work. And then Okay, you guys ready to try to make the cream corn?
Yeah, do it.
All right, let's do this. If it sizzles really loudly or becomes out of control, I might have to move it over to my stove. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so I've got my skillet with some butter in it. And again, I'm making this for one, so I'm scaling down the recipe a bit. Hazel, you making it too?
Yeah, right now.
Oh, Peter, you making it too?
I'm going to finish off yes, I've mowed most of it. So I'm just going to finish off the last bit of it.
That's one thing that's so cool about Zoom. You can cook and hang out with friends from other cities, states, countries. I love that. Aside from just doing Hollywood Kitchen, I've actually had a lot of times when I'll just get online and cook with a friend on Zoom or eat dinner with them over Zoom. And it's been a real lifeline during this whole thing.
Well, we did that last year where we're actually I was actually doing recipes with people, and we're actually get on and we'd actually do different countries. We'd actually select a country and we'd go, oh, let's do something. So we'd always do something bizarre. And it actually was quite a lot of fun. Some of it didn't work. Some of it did work, so.
Last year, since it was such a depressing year for the Oscars, I did an Oscar cook-a-thon, and I got some friends and we picked different recipes of nominees and winners, and we all presented them. And several friends were like, I had more fun doing that than watching the show. So this year we're going to do another one, and the theme is going to be, they should have won an Oscar for something, they didn't, and that sucks. So I'm already kind of trying to puzzle that one together.
Nice, that sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got my butter here. Let me grab my printed out piece of paper with the recipe in it. All right, so for the Vincent Price elote con crema a la mexicana. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Good.
I probably didn't because there's laughter here, but I tried.
No, it's good.
Mexican cream corn. Okay. So melt 4 tablespoons of butter. We'll need an onion, a chopped clove of garlic, minced. I tried to mince as best as I could. We've got fresh, I was lucky enough to find fresh corn at the market. That was really unexpected and nice.
Yeah, it's not always available.
Pardon?
It's not always available. They don't always have it. So
yeah, it's definitely kind of there was like one package and that was all there was. And I was like, ooh, I need to grab that. Okay, got the corn. We've got the chilies. We've got salt, and we've got the cheese. Okay, so add 1 medium onion and garlic minced, saute until lightly browned. So if the sizzle does get super loud, by the way, feel free to IM me or something on Zoom here, and I will maybe transfer it to the main stove. I'm learning all about the art of sauteing and all this. This is very new to me.
It's a great skill to have.
It is. You know what skill I really need that I don't have right now? I want to be killer with knives. Like when I've seen people just be like, I'm in awe of that skill.
It takes a lot of practice. Like, yeah, I feel like it's like people who work in restaurants who just do it all day long and they can just cut things. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I worry just because I'm a heavy bleeder, I'm really worried about like accidentally.
No, I always say like, I don't want to keep my knives too sharp because I know I will cut myself.
Seriously.
They gotta be sharp enough to do the job, but not so sharp that I'm gonna have to go to the emergency room if something happens.
Yeah, people that love to cook, they always say that if you're gonna invest in something, it's good knives, because they're essential when it comes down to cooking. So.
And also technique, because I found there was this one YouTube channel I found, which is a Korean lady who does the best like braised tofu. And she had this technique of actually like basically chopping an onion. And I've learned that technique now because I just watched her YouTube thing, the way she does it. And it takes you like about, like a minute to actually like chop an onion.
Oh, wow.
But it's really, really clever. I'll send it to you.
My mom and dad for Christmas got me a KitchenAid mini chop where you just put the thing in there and hit a button. And that's been really handy too, but I would like to kind of learn the knife technique if I'm able to make that happen. Okay, so I'm slowly letting these onions saute in here. How long does it usually take you to get things lightly browned?
7, 8 to 8 minutes. So
7 to 8 minutes. That's good to know. I'm constantly learning as I go along on this whole adventure here.
It depends on what your flame is at. It should be like a medium, not sort of like too low, not too high. So
Okay.
and because you're using a little cooker like that, it might be a little bit higher than the normal oven, so hob. So
All right.
it
So
looks a bit light there for me.
Pardon?
So it looks a bit light there. I would turn it up a bit. So
okay. It is starting to sizzle and brown a bit, which is good.
My onions are actually jumping a little bit.
Oh.
I need to maybe lower the.
I'm going to add my garlic now at this point. Okay. Saute. I wish I had like some sort of overhead camera I could put down into all this, but okay. So I'm getting some nice sizzle from the onion and the garlic. Okay. All right, now it says add kernels of corn, chilies, salt, and the diced cheese or Munster. I'm going to add the cheese at the very end to avoid the big burning that happened the other day on the test bake. So.
and I think you're right because I did the same thing. I think I added it at the end, and it's actually feels a lot better to do it. Did you do that, Jenny?
No, I just bunged it all in and tea towel over the top.
I'm gonna put the corn.
I had it on a super low heat, super low heat.
All right, I'm gonna put the chilies in here. All right, we got corn, we've got chilies, we've got a dash of salt. I'll put the cheese later. Now, the big problem I had on the test bake was where Vincent says, cover with a towel, cook over low heat, stirring occasionally for 30 minutes. I'm gonna try this, guys. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm a little worried about the towel catching fire, but we'll see. We shall see.
Well, you know what you can do? You can actually put aluminium foil over the top instead.
Let me see if I have some. Hang on, let me go check. See if I have some foil.
Amongst yourself. So are you actually in Mexico?
Yeah, I'm actually in Mexico. Yeah, I'm in Puebla, Mexico.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, and I'm not far from Mexico City, so I was just there last week trying to see the sights a little.
Oh, so where are you? You're outside DF.
Yeah, I'm in Puebla.
Oh, Puebla. Oh, lovely. Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
no, actually, technically, I'm in Cholula, so I'm in Cholula, Puebla. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, that's got the Great Pyramid there. So.
Yeah, it's like blocks from my house.
Oh, love that place. I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool that the pyramid is like right in the middle of town. You don't have to like go out to a site to see it. It's right there.
It's right there. Exactly. I love it so much. I've been to DF about 5 times. So.
Yeah, no, it's a great place. I've been a lot of times, and like I haven't even scratched the surface. There's still so much I haven't seen.
Well, it's like 2 years ago, as I was saying, it's like I was in Dolores Del Rio. That's where I got my chilies.
Yeah.
Used for tonight's.
So Peter, I have a question for you. So instead of a towel, I'm putting a piece of foil over the skillet here. It is on a low heat. Do I puncture any little puncture wounds in the top of the foil or no?
No, don't puncture it. In fact, that's what you do. Seal it all up at the sides.
Seal it all up. Okay.
Because basically what you're doing, it's what you're doing with the tea towel. You want to
You
seal
have a lid I could put on it, but is that not advisable?
Yeah, you can do a lid. Yeah, put the lid on.
Okay. I mean, no disrespect to Vincent. Y'all know I love him. I'm just worried about putting a towel on top of a hot skillet and what that could lead to for me.
It's the same. I think it's the same thing. It's like a tea towel, or I think aluminum foil wasn't around in 65 when he was doing the recipe. So.
Okay. So what do you recommend, the foil or the lid?
The foil and the lid on top. And the lid on top. Done.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I've set my timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Oh,
Pardon?
it says 30 minutes to let it sit there? Just
Yeah, Vincent says 30 minutes.
adding the cheese?
I hope that will be good.
Well, it's in the recipe. It does say to add the cheese at that point. But you know what I did? I put the cheese at the last 10 minutes just so it doesn't go. Ugh.
Because I really think adding all the cheese up front is where I went wrong. One of the many
Yeah.
levels where I went
I
wrong.
don't know. I mean, obviously we have to be there when Vincent did that recipe then. So how it looked like. So we're not there. But it just doesn't. I've tried it. It didn't work for me.
Can I ask you guys a question? Have you ever tried the stunt where Vincent cooked fish in a dishwasher? Tell me the truth. Have you ever tried that?
I don't have a dishwasher.
I don't either. I don't own one. I don't even know how to use one. So
I mean, I guess it would just steam the fish. I mean, as long as you didn't put any detergent in there, I guess it would work.
But let's face it, like, I mean, how much energy wasting is it? You know?
Yeah, I mean, just use the steamer.
they probably didn't have steamer gadgets at the store back in the 60s or 70s.
No, I think what it was is that at that time, because Vincent was like, you know, renowned gourmet, he had that contract with, I think it was Westinghouse, was it? So basically, I think they made a great idea. Let's just do that, and that. But I don't think they realised about the actual sort of like the energy wasting aspect of it. I think if he was here today, I think he would actually go, I shouldn't have done that, you know.
So it was all just a marketing gimmick.
Well, it's a marketing gimmick, you know, so, you know.
Tried to go to the Vincent Price Museum of Art in East LA before the pandemic, and like a fool, I didn't really check the hours on the website. I just happened to be in the neighborhood and thought, oh, I'll just drop by. And then it was closed. And then the pandemic happened like a week or two later. So I really need to go to his art museum and check that out.
Yeah, because there's the permanent display, which actually has his own actual elements, you know, the stuff that he's actually collected, his collection, but also that they have a running display, obviously continually like changing of like new artists of who are actually working at the museum, and that's always fantastic. So you just never know who you're going to get. So
hang on just a sec, guys. I have to plug in my battery here. Sorry.
How's your corn going, Hazel?
I'm sorry?
How is your corn going?
My corn is, right now it's just simmering there. So I'll wait to add the cheese. I've never made this before. I'm very excited.
are you going to use Oaxaca cheese on that as well?
No, I'm gonna use, they suggested Munster.
Okay,
Munster cheese.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I mean, I have leftovers. Should I just throw it in there?
No, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking, it's like, you know, it might look fantastic, actually.
I use Munster in my version. We can't get poblano peppers over here in the UK, so I used ancho.
Oh, I'm
chilies.
sure. Well,
You know, if someone could come over to the UK and start up a Mexican food business, I'm serious, they could have a huge hit on their hands there.
I think Peter should do it.
Well, I think somebody's already done it because I found online there's a thing called mexicangrocer.uk, and you can actually get the proper corn tortillas that actually made the proper corn tortillas, which are made with like, you know, lime, you know, yeah. So it is available now. So I think somebody's already done it.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Definitely. So we'll kind of return to talking about Dolores Del Rio while the corn is cooking. I really just think she's obviously such a trailblazer. And, you know, today we talk about representation and everything. And as much as I love classic Hollywood, that wasn't really much of a thing. And she and Lupe Velez were like the two women that were really representing women from Mexico or from other parts of the world in the silent era in the 1930s. And that's a really tough kind of place to be, is that trailblazer, that person who's kind of kicking down the door and forcing the world to recognize them and their talents. And
as an actress, I only kind of knew her, from watching the Mexican movies, and did not realize that her career actually started in Hollywood. And then she went to Mexico to, do her movies. But I don't know, I did not know that, in the silent era, like she started there. And I know how you always talk about, there's some actresses and actors that coming from silent movies, and then when the talkies came, their careers just did not continue, or the career ended there. With her, she continued, so, and she had an accent. I mean, I don't know, it's just, I think it's pretty amazing what she did. She's a treasure from Mexico. That's what, referred to. She's treasure to them.
And I love how she worked with Edwin Carew, this director, by the way, who's at Hollywood Forever, where I give tours. And I think he kind of helped her career. He directed her in Ramona and a few other things. But yeah, you're right, Hazel. She really made this successful transition when so many of her peers didn't.
Yeah. I found that pretty amazing. I was like, wow, just because, like I said again, she did have an accent. And there's this interview, it was so cute that she talks about the moment when she was asked to come and make a movie here in Hollywood, and somebody was translating for her. And when they said, oh, he wants to know if you want to go to Hollywood to make a movie, at that moment, the only word she knew in English was yes. And she answered to the guy, she said, yes. And that was the only word she knew in English. And I thought that was so cute. Sorry, I'm watching something here. I don't want to burn.
And also and there's a friend of mine who he's made documentaries, and he's tried for years to get a documentary made about Dolores and Lupe, kind of a joint documentary about both their lives and careers. And he hasn't been able to get it off the ground. And it kills me, because it's like, I think their stories are so relevant, they're so important, and they really need to get out there, because Vincent was right. Dolores, he did the right thing by trying to keep her in the public's conscious, because I think a lot of these stars, they kind of get forgotten by time, and people move on, the world moves on. And someone like her, she is unforgettable. And again, she was a tremendous trailblazer. So I really hope my friend's documentary can eventually get made. I just think that story of hers is so relevant right now to the world.
Yeah, she was the first woman to wear a two-piece bathing suit in a movie. I was like, what? So at that time it was a little controversial, but she did it. And I cannot remember what actress it was that said that, that Dolores Del Rio had the prettiest belly button, because it's just, she, those, right now that seems so minor to us, but back then that was a huge deal. Two-piece bikini, so she did it. She was the first one.
I think the home, she was at one point, I think for about 10 or 11 years, married to MGM production designer Cedric Gibbons. And I think their home still stands today. They had this gorgeous Art Deco house in Los Angeles. And she truly was a remarkable, and also we talked to you on other episodes about how many of these actresses, like say Joan Crawford too, they've managed to evolve, not just from silence to sound, but from sound to television to theater. They've kind of been able to keep the career momentum going across multiple mediums and multiple decades. And Dolores also was able to do that too.
Yeah, and she wasn't only an actress, she also was a singer. She danced, that's kind of how she started in the theater. So a lot of people don't know. So I started looking at her music, and I don't know, I really liked it. I was just
a beautiful voice.
Yeah. She did, and it's like many people don't know that she was also a singer. So you do see her singing in the Mexican movies, and not all actresses knew to do all that. Some of them were just actresses, but I don't know. She was truly remarkable.
She really was. She left from Hollywood to come back to Mexico in the early 40s and became the face of Mexican cinema in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah,
And
she was huge. And her film, Maria Candelaria, the one I mentioned before, was actually the first Mexican film to win the Palme d'Or at Cannes.
Oh, really?
wow.
So yeah, I think it was, or no, it was the first Latin American film. So it was the first Mexican film to be screened at Cannes, and then it won the Palme d'Or and was the first film from Latin America to win. So that was kind of a big hit. It's still considered a classic. And yeah, and then she was just kind of a big star. She was in a lot of big movies.
Yeah, she certainly put Mexican cinema on the international scale. And that's what she's really, really should be like praised for.
Yeah, something that she said was that, you know, when she went back to a Mexico that was completely different than when she had left. So she wasn't sure, you know, are they gonna accept me? I mean, how is this gonna go? And they embraced her, but she was smart too. Like the moment she got there, she started making friends with directors and, you know, getting a very close group of people close to her, you know, that were already like famous, and got involved in other things too with charities and stuff. So, you know, she wanted to show that she was more than just, the Hollywood star.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, she was, during the Mexican Revolution, her family was kind of rich and aristocratic, and during the Mexican Revolution, that a lot of like land got taken away from people and stuff. So she kind of had a riches to rags story and then went to Hollywood. So yeah, so I mean, I think post-revolutionary Mexico and then coming back in the 40s would have been like a very different world.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she deserves a biopic, doesn't she?
She really does. Oh my gosh, yes.
Who would play her?
There's actually been a trend. I don't know if you guys have been following it in the trades, but apparently Tom Holland, Spider-Man, is going to play Fred Astaire, which, okay. And then they're talking about doing a biopic on Hattie McDaniel. And then just the other day, I think Jeffrey Rush is going to do a biopic on, oh gosh, I'm forgetting who it was, but there's been like a rash of biopic of classic Hollywood announcements in the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline.com. So it's not the worst idea. If anybody has a great Dolores Del Rio screenplay out there, now is the time.
And she's got a fascinating life story. I mean, it's very interesting. There's a lot they could do with it.
A lot they can do with it. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Definitely. And these stories need to get told. I mean, I loved a few years ago when the film Hidden Figures came out, because I didn't know that story, and to hear about those African-American women who were so crucial to the American space program, I was really touched by that story. And I thought, what an incredible tale. Like, and it's true. And I thought, how many stories out there of extraordinary trailblazers the world doesn't yet know? You know, how many more of these stories are out there? And I'm sure there are countless.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dolores Del Rio, she was, you know, married 3 times. She had a brief romance with Orson Welles. I think she's the one that actually attended with him to the premiere of Citizen Kane. Or yeah, like she's with him during that time. But it was just like a quick romance. Somewhere I read that they were engaged, but I don't think that was necessarily true. But yeah, you know, and when she went back to Mexico, then she started secretly, I don't know if I'm using the right word, not secretly, but very discreet, you know, have romance with some of her co-stars and maybe directors and stuff like that. So she liked to date.
I heard that Orson Welles called her the most exciting woman he ever met.
Yeah, and that happened. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know this, that after he saw that scene in Bird of Paradise, she's nude, swimming in the water. And it's like, you can, I was like, what? Like, I couldn't, and she did it. And Orson Welles says that when he saw that, he was like in love. Man.
I sure do love pre-code. It's kind of amazing because, like, when I was growing up studying film, I kind of had to take whatever would be on VHS, and that was all you had at the time. And I kind of grew up thinking movies were kind of squeaky clean and, you know, whatever. And then in college, for the first time, I saw Babyface with Barbara Stanwyck, and I was Lord, I was like, I cannot believe this. And then that's when Pandora's box flew open for me, and I learned all about pre-code and how risque and sexy and daring the filmmaking was from like 1929 to mid 34. It was really quite remarkable. So that's an era of film that I just return to over and over again, because they could get away with so much stuff that they just couldn't, after mid 34.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty like shocking. I was like, I can see why he would say that, but she looks so beautiful. And like the first time you see her face in the scene in the movie, she's like swimming backwards, and she's got this big smile. And I don't know, her dark wild island girl hair, because she played like an island girl in the movie. So it's very memorable,
Definitely.
One to revisit.
Writing that one down. I want to see that one.
Yeah, I've only seen one of her movies in English. I realize I've mostly seen her Mexican movies.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So when I knew I was gonna be joining here today, I was like, let me check out some of her English ones. And The Bird of Paradise was the first one. Then Ramona. Then is it Man? That's on Silent. So.
And she's also done. She did in 1936. She did Lance's Spy, which was with Lynn Barry, who was actually in shock with Vincent Price. So we actually put that in the book. So
excellent.
I saw a little bit
Your
of
book. I just want to say thank you guys again for this book, because it was like Christmas morning when this landed on my doorstep, and it's just so well done. I'm gonna try to hold it way above the corn here, but yes, Supper with the Stars with your host, Vincent Price. And I really look forward, let me know as soon as I can order a paper can be beat up in my kitchen version.
hopefully I'm going to get it done within next month. So yeah.
So do you guys have the Vincent Price co-star record? Is that kind of what inspired the co-star thing?
Yeah. Peter came round to my house for lunch one day and we got a bit drunk and the co-star album was hanging around. And he was in my kitchen looking for all my movie star cookbooks and we just started chatting and that's how we came up with the idea of doing the book, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Drunken luncheon. It was all Vincent Price food that we had.
Hey, some great ideas happen when you're drunk, but also some bad ones too.
So I'm really hoping to I'm thinking about doing a TV version where basically, because Vincent had loads of guest stars, co-stars who were actually in TV shows that he was in. And I thought, maybe I could do a TV version now.
Yeah.
Like Super Romero and Batman and, things like that. So.
Excellent. Well, Vincent is just the gift that keeps on giving, I think. He's so sophisticated, erudite, he's interesting, he's a joy to watch on film. He can elevate the worst schlock and make you take it seriously. He's just gifted that way. And he didn't seem tortured by having to play these, in these horror films. He seemed to just be happy to be working and happy to be here. And I don't know, it's just, he just is such a fun person to
there we go.
watch.
Yeah, he always said it's if he had a convivial set, then he would actually be happy with whatever he had to do, regardless of what script was laid out in front of him, sort of thing. It was only when he had to deal with the difficult suits at AIP that would actually make things complicated. Otherwise, he'd actually just take the money, because he loved his art and he loved his food, and he would spend most of his money on basically buying new artwork, and actually that gave him pleasure, so as well as food. And also, he did lots of time where he actually made lots of food for the cast and crew of the films that he was actually working on. So Carolyn Munro says that he actually on Abominable Dr. Phibes, he'd roll up with a bowl of homemade pate, And in Witchfinder General, which was one of his most difficult film shoots, he made like bowls of pasta for the crew, and he was always using food to actually get have as a way of actually like communicating with the people he was working with.
Well, in the pandemic too, I mean, it's been so hard for so many of us, and I feel like no matter where you live in the world, how you vote, what you think, whatever, almost everybody likes movies and they like food. Like, it's such a unifying thing for most of us, And I love how you've gotten people, all these test cooks, to write different accounts. It's just so well done. It's like a compelling story of survival combined with art, combined with cooking. And I love it.
Yeah, it was interesting putting that all together during the pandemic. We were getting lots of feedback from test cooks saying that they couldn't get various ingredients because of the pandemic. And yeah, so there's lots of snapshots of what life was like, during these weird times. So that it was interesting.
It was great. It also gives great ways of actually, like, if you don't have something and you want to try and do the recipe, you can actually, do different ways of actually like cooking it, sort of thing. So, yeah. And also there's lots of people who actually like saying, well, I'm vegan, so I'm actually going to turn this into a vegan version, and it works, So, you can do lots of recipes in here, in your own way.
Well, I think I kind of tend to have that Great Depression mentality where you just have to kind of make the best with what you got. And I think even in the pandemic, we've all been there. We've had to just make the best with what we have to work with, whatever that may be.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
One thing I would love to do, if I can hijack my friend Danny's house again, is have a big Vincent Price dinner party. And just when it's safe to do that, I guess, and then invite tons of friends, and just everybody brings a Vincent Price dish, or I make them at my friend's house. And that would be fun too. It'd be a fun way to have a dinner party.
It'd be like potluck. Potluck, yeah.
That'd be great. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I had to get out of the kitchen. It got so hot in there.
Pardon?
I had to get out of the kitchen. It was so hot in there. With that corn, just whenever you add the cheese, I'll add my cheese too.
This is a good time of year for me to make this, because a lot of times it's burning hot in LA, and I feel like I try to make foods that use a lot of heat during the winter months, so that way, like, because it's just a nightmare to try to use my stove for like half the year around here. But also, I wanted to mention that today is Ramon Navarro's birthday as well. So we should say a few kind words about Ramon Navarro. I do have some recipes, and I want to do an episode on him eventually. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But he was Dolores' cousin, right?
Yeah, they were cousins.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's great. Ooh.
Yeah. And I love his silent films, Ben-Hur, A Tale of Christ in 1925. And I also love The Student Principal of Heidelberg with Norma Shearer. That's a beautiful, beautiful movie as well. Do you guys have any favorite Ramon Navarro films?
What was that one you just mentioned? I'd like to see that.
The Student Prince of Old Heidelberg.
Right.
It's an Ernst Lubitsch silent, and Norma Shearer and Ramon Navarro. I was lucky enough to see it at the San Francisco Silent, and it's just a beautiful, like, romance and story and everything.
Oh, wow.
I think there needs to be a box set to actually for us all to revisit his stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. There's one DVD retailer that, if I can never afford rent someday, they're going to be the cause. Kino Lorber. They put out so many classics on DVD, and it's like chocolate and their offerings are two things in life I seem incapable of saying no to. And they're constantly putting stuff out. God bless those people. And Flicker Alley puts out a lot of good stuff too.
Yeah, that Kino Lorber did the Last Man on Earth on Blu-ray, which is the first time it's actually come out with a proper restored Blu-ray version. And it's got an excellent audio commentary by Richard Hollis, I think he is. But I got it just recently, and it's really, really good, because I've been waiting to see it properly on a proper restored version rather than on a pirate thing on YouTube and things. So it's been great to see it again. So
And I hear that they're going to put out a Phibes DVD set with the first Phibes and then the second Phibes movie as well on DVD. That's going to come out too.
Carryover. That's a carryover of the one that Arrow's done here in the UK, which is like a proper box set, and that's the original proper Blu-ray box set. But finally, they've been able to do the US rights to carry it over to do a US version. But it's the same set, but with different audio commentaries on it.
Okay.
You'll be able to make some more goulash because there's a Diana Rigg goulash recipe in the Supper with the Stars book.
Yes.
Excellent. Let me see how many minutes I have left on the corn here. 3 minutes and 43 seconds left on the corn. Wow, that went by fast.
Yeah.
Did you put the cheese in?
I'm going to save the cheese for the very end.
Chuck it in now, because I did mine 10 minutes beforehand.
Well, okay.
Back to the kitchen.
Yeah, chuck it in there, mix it up, and then seal it up again for the next 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. And what are some of your other favorite Mexican food themed recipes that all of you like to make? Because I love finding out about new food. When we did the guacamole episode, the Smackdown, Hazel found these corn crisps that I really need to get. Those sound phenomenal.
Yes, salmas they're called, and I was told that sometimes they have them at Costco, which is like a huge store here in Los Angeles. But I found them online. I just ordered them on Amazon.
So what are they?
I'm sorry?
What are they?
What are they? They're corn crisps. So they're kind of like, when you taste them, they're very delicious. They taste kind of like, not quite like a cracker and not quite like a tortilla chip. It's like a hybrid.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
But
they're very tasty, very, very tasty. When I saw the recipe and it said corn crisp, I was like, what is corn crisp? So I Googled it and I found those. And they're really good. So I'm gonna throw the Oaxaca cheese in the corn. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Do it.
What are some of your other favorite recipes, Mexican food recipes that you guys have made?
Well, guacamole, obviously.
Yes.
I've got something.
What have you got there?
So basically, because we're making the corn, I've actually I got all the corn husks.
Oh, so you can make tamales now.
I make tamales.
Oh, tamales. So good.
Tamales are one of my favorite foods on the planet.
Yeah.
You basically can keep it dried, and then when you need it, you basically rehydrate them, and then you make the tamales. So you don't throw out the corn husks.
That is a great idea. I'm going to go save mine in a minute when we're done here.
Yeah. And you can make, there's so many fantastic recipes out there. I'm using the Mexican cookbook to actually do a crab tamale, which is actually quite nice. So, and it works really well. You just rehydrate them, so you don't no waste.
That is a great idea. Alia, what kind of stuff do you like to make?
Well, it's interesting. I was way more into making Mexican food before I moved to Mexico because now I can just buy Mexican food. Like I used to like
Oil now.
Like make mole poblano, which is the mole sauce. It takes hours. It took me like 2 days to make it because you got to roast all the chilies, do like a whole spice blend, and then you got to like cook it all day, and it's got the chocolate in it. It's like, but I'm literally in Puebla now, and mole poblano is everywhere, so I don't have to make my own.
Mole is definitely, labor of love. I took a cooking class with mole, and when they handed me the sheet with all the ingredients, I got so discouraged.
Oh God, it's so many.
Where am I gonna find this? Like it was just like funny. Like I looked at it and I started laughing. That's how funny, how long it was.
A ton of ingredients. I mean, that's why it's had such a complex flavor, though. It's just because there's so much in it.
Yeah, it's so good.
But yeah, I mean, it's a fun one to make if you want like a project. Like
I got this when I was last in Mexico.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, see, that's great because then you just add water and like reconstitute.
What is it? A powder? What is it?
Powder.
So it's mole, but it's I think it's like the paste, because sometimes they just do like a kind
This
of
is
like
this is a paste.
version.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then you can just add water to it to make and then simmer it for a little while.
You know what one of my favorite treats is? You know, I do the tours at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Hollywood most Saturdays from 10 to 12:30. And afterward, I can't eat a lot before the tour, but afterward, I am just like ravenously hungry. So every week almost, I kind of get into these habits. There's a bakery in Hollywood called Lo Monarca. And I go there and I get the salsa beef verde tacos usually. And then they have Mexican wedding cookies, which are so good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So like getting the salsa verde tacos and the Mexican, that's like my Saturday lunch usually, because it's so delicious. It's right there in Hollywood. And yeah, that's one of my favorite things to eat.
Oh, so good. I don't really cook. Like you, Carrie, I don't really cook, but I do absolutely enjoy chilaquiles. Not sure if anybody familiar with
That's
that.
like the best
It's like
breakfast.
Yeah, it's like a breakfast meal, and you can get it with red sauce or green sauce. And the trick with the chilaquiles, because it has tortilla chips, is to keep the tortillas still crispy, even with the sauce and stuff. So it's crispy every bite. When usually it's served with scrambled eggs, or I think however you want it, but it's so good. I love chilaquiles.
Oh no, that's great. That's like so good for breakfast, especially when you're hungover. It really hits the spot. But chilaquiles are great, and they're great because if like here, I feel like they sell tortillas by the kilo, so like I always have too many. So then I can make chilaquiles with the old ones.
No, like look, I wanted tortillas, but I wanted to get large ones for the enchiladas. So this is how many tortillas I had to buy for 3 enchiladas.
Yeah, so you can make some chilaquiles. Just fry those up
every day. Yeah. It's crazy.
You know what also strikes me too is how Mexican food kind of changes from area to area. For example, I was originally raised in Texas before my family moved to Georgia. It's like Tex-Mex there. And then Alia and I met in Santa Fe, which is where we went to college. And Mexican food in Santa Fe is totally different.
Yeah, no.
And then like, Southern California Mexican food is different from Santa Fe and Texas.
Oh yeah, and in Mexico, it's like there's regional specialties everywhere. Like in the Yucatan, there's a lot more pork stuff, and it's a lot more tropical. And like here, like Puebla's kind of famous for its cuisine, but yeah, because like the moles come here, but then there's like all these different moles in like different regions. Like Oaxaca has like its own like special moles. And then, yeah, I was just in Guadalajara, and yeah, they have like this beef dish that I've never even had before called carne en su jugo, which just means beef and its juice. But it's this stew with like beef and bacon and onions, and it's delicious. But that's like their regional specialty. So it's different all over. And sometimes I joke, I think like California Mexican food is my favorite Mexican food.
Come up and visit.
Is that why? Because it's more infusion of everything.
Yeah, and I think it's just because California is so like it's by the sea, so they have good fish, but then like there's a lot of agriculture, so you get like good produce. So yeah, like you just get really good Mexican food in California.
That's true. The last time I went to Europe,
burritos are amazing.
The last time I went to Europe several years ago, I got back to LA and I realized I hadn't had any Mexican food in a few weeks. And I went to a taqueria and just ate like a maniac. I was just like, oh, you don't realize how much you crave something or miss something until it's like off the table of possibilities for a while.
Yeah. And like you were saying, I grew up in New Mexico, and like New Mexican food is totally different than it is elsewhere. There's like everything has green chili in it, and there's a lot of like corn, blue corn. But yeah, no, it's like I miss the green chile, because we got the chiles poblanos here, but it's not the same as the one.
You know what I miss Oh yeah, I miss sopapillas.
Oh yeah, no, that's a very like regional thing too. Yeah, I feel like that's
one time I was on this mission to find a sopapilla in Southern California, and I had to drive an hour and a half outside of Los Angeles to achieve that goal. And now I don't even know if the place is still there anymore, but
I don't even remember the last time I even saw a sopapilla.
You don't see those anymore, and I don't understand why.
I think that they're just Are they in there?
I think there is a recipe for them in here.
I think there is actually. I'm just looking at that. I think now that you say that, I think there is one.
Can somebody tell me what it is? Because I don't know what's
Well, it's like a fried dough. It's this dough, and you fry it in fat so it puffs up like a pillow.
Oh.
And it's hollow, and you can either put sweet
and
or
then
savory
it's
stuff in
like
it, or you can just
dessert,
cover it in
like
cinnamon
onion
and
it
sugar.
or something. Yeah,
I can't believe I've never heard of that
but they're
before.
very popular in like Colorado and New Mexico.
337.
I think they might have come from Colorado even. I don't know.
So then
Well,
my
I'm the history of the sopapilla now.
My family lives in Georgia, and back in Georgia, if you go down to the Hueys on the river, they don't have sopapillas, but they have beignets, which is kind of like the Cajun
Very
Creole.
similar, like a fried donut. Yeah.
It's in the recipes
Oh,
in the
There
tree.
it is. Oh my goodness.
There's a whole Mexican chapter.
Okay.
The Rivoli, is that Mexico City?
Wow. Has anybody tried to ever make a sopapilla at home? Because one of my close friends just got an air fryer, and we're so excited about it. So we're going to try to go over there and see how much stuff we can create on the air fryer.
Yeah, I have an air fryer, but I mean, I think I tried to make like fried things in it initially until I realized like I'd rather just fry things. Like the air fryer, what it is it's like a convection oven. So what I always say is that if you look at the air fryer as just the world's best toaster oven, like you'll be much more satisfied than if you look at it as a fryer. Because I love my air fryer, but I use it like honestly, the best thing it makes is toast. You just put like bread or bagels in there and it just gets perfectly toasted. It's like, yeah.
That's funny. People that has them, they love them, but what I get discouraged is the size. They're always so big and bulky.
Yeah, I had to.
I don't have counter space anymore. You know, my coffee maker, then the espresso machine, like.
Yeah, I had to get rid of my toaster oven to make some counter space for the air fryer, but then I realized that the air fryer is better than the toaster oven, so I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna replace it.
See, space is my constant problem because I have none of it. So I can't buy any more appliances because there's just like nowhere to put them.
Yeah, no, that's my kitchen in New York was just like a corner. So it's like I had this much counter space. So I had to use it wisely. Whereas here, I mean, I have a little more counter space. My kitchen isn't huge. Actually, my old place, my kitchen was gigantic. I had counters like all around the entire kitchen. But this place has a smaller kitchen.
Well, I think my corn is finally done. Here is what it looks like.
That looks good.
It didn't burn, you guys. I'm really going to chalk this up in the win column.
I put way too much cheese on mine, I think. I cannot even tilt it, but I'm gonna try it. Look.
That looks good, nice and cheesy.
Nice and cheesy.
Can't have too much cheese.
Right. Well, guys, this has been so much fun. Let me look on Facebook and see if people are asking any questions right now. See if there's anything out there.
Oh, look at that cheese. I love that. Look at that's good.
Are you seeing me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's a lot of cheesy.
Oaxaca cheese.
That will be so delicious.
I'm actually jealous, actually.
Yeah.
You have, after all this talk about Mexican food, I'm so hungry. I'm gonna eat this the moment we finish.
Yeah, you know, not that many questions are coming up. So I think this is a good time for us to wrap up so we can eat lunch here. And you guys are probably, it's pretty late in the UK, I'm assuming.
Bedtime here.
9:30.
So Jenny, thank you for joining me. I really admire you so much. You've inspired me. You've always answered all of my questions on email, like so quickly. And I love your blog. And thank you to you and Peter and Alia and Hazel and everybody for joining me today. Do you have any sites you want to plug for Vincent Price? Or Jenny, you can find at silverscreensuppers.com.
Oh, that's you.
Yes, that's Jenny. That's Jenny.
Okay.
You're working on another book right now, Jenny, right?
Yeah, I'm working on a Murder She Cooked book. So.
It's a what?
Murder She Cooked. So it's based on Murder She Wrote.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? You could have murder mystery weekends revolving around food and murder or crime or something.
Yeah. So many great actresses and actors in Murder She Wrote, of course.
Oh, yeah. Peter, do you want to plug the Vincent Price Estate website? And
we have basically 20 books left of this hardback edition. So if anybody wants one, it's actually available on vincentpricelegacy.uk. So this will be the only time this hardback edition is actually produced. Otherwise, it will be a softback and it'll be in black and white. So you won't get the color. But anyway, so yes, if anybody wants to actually order one, get on there now.
excellent. And Alia, Hazel, do you have any projects you want to plug or any final thoughts on Dolores?
Oh, no, thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I had a great time, and thank you, Carrie, for inviting me again. This was so much fun. I'm just cannot believe I'm cooking like I never did. And it took Carrie to get me into the kitchen so I can start cooking. So my husband's gonna be very happy. But no, thank you so much. This was fun, you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it was really fun.
All right, Alia, thank you so much. And by the way, I have to plug, Alia does all the gorgeous Art Deco graphics on Hollywood Kitchen. So if you love all the looks of my little Instagram posts and the Art Deco,
I don't know. That's awesome. You do such a good job. I love those.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
They're gorgeous.
Thank you.
all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us in Hollywood Kitchen. Good night, and stay tuned for more episodes of food, fun, and film history.
I'll post a picture of my plate.
Oh, yes, yes. Post a picture. And if you make it, by the way,
It'll be cheese coming out everywhere.
if you decide to make this too, we'd love to see the post and hear any thoughts, notes, etc. And
Very easy recipe. Anybody can do it.
yes. And thank you guys again so much for joining me. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye. Nice seeing everyone.
Yeah, good seeing you too. Enjoy that cheesy corn. It looks so good.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.